This is episode one of A Little Something from Jason Sims. It's a very short podcast that's mostly jokes. There's a dog barking outside, and that's verite. That's as it happens. So you get that for free. The way this is going to work is I'm going to talk into my dumb phone, and then you're going to listen to this on your dumb phone or on your computer or on your television or on your watch or on your refrigerator. I don't even know how anything works anymore. The world is just too weird. Anyway, today's bit is called Balance of Powers. Do you think if the founding fathers knew exactly what they were getting us into and exactly the situation we would be in today, that they would have ever separated from England? Like, imagine Ben Franklin, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson all hanging out at some tavern, and they're drinking Samuel Adams beers, which back then meant beers that were actually poured by the actual Samuel Adams. And they've been sitting around, talking, and there's a lull in the conversation. And then Thomas Jefferson brings up work. Because whenever you go out with friends from work, there's always that one friend from work that wants to talk about work when you go out outside of work. And Thomas Jefferson, he just strikes me as that kind of dude. So he's like, that Constitution thing that we've been working on? I think I had a breakthrough today. I call it the balance of powers. We'll have these three branches of government, right, that will share authority and offset each other. Balance of powers. And Madison, at first was kind of annoyed that Jefferson was talking about work, but now he's interested because this sounds kind of cool. And Jefferson can see in Madison's eyes that he's interested. So now that kind of eggs him on. So, he keeps going. The first is the legislative branch. And it's just a couple of room full of guys. And just to be clear, by guys, I do mean guys. Like us. Like not like us. I think you know what I'm talking about. I think you know what I'm saying. And Madison just kind of winks. It's like, yeah, I know what you're saying. And Jefferson's like, yeah, it's a revolution. But it ain't that much of a revolution. So the legislative branch, they get chosen by all guys like us, and they'll represent us, and they'll make the laws. Then the second branch is the judicial branch, the courts. And we'll have all these courts, but then there's this one boss court, that's on top of the other courts. And it'll be these, 5 to 9 guys, like ever how many we decide that we need, and they'll interpret the laws. But they're not elected, and they serve for life, so they're not beholden to anybody. So Madison says, that sounds good, but what's this third one? And Jefferson's like, okay, this is the coolest part. It's called the executive branch, and it's basically just this one guy that all of us guys pick. And it's pretty much, a popularity contest, like probably the tallest guy or the guy with the best looking hair or the guy with the powderiest wig. I mean, that's probably who's going to win it. So Madison's like, all right, what does he do? And Jefferson's like, well, he has this button. And he can push this button and vaporize everybody. Now, up until this point, Ben Franklin's only been kind of half listening to this conversation. He's been busy flirting with this lady at the next table over. But now he kind of fully tunes in for the first time when he hears this. Ben Franklin's like, vaporize whom? The other branches? The British? What are we talking about here? And Jefferson smiles and says, no. Everybody in the world. He'll be able to push this button and render the entire earth a lifeless, smoking husk. So Franklin, thinks about that for a second and says, okay, But what if some fellow, who just likes attention and winning, but has neither the temperament, experience, nor aptitude to truly govern, flim-flams his way into the job? A job that he never really wanted in the first place. And now he's pacing the floor and he's just, nibbling on French fries and watching cable news and, shooting out these blustery tweets and just saying awful things all day. And he's just wishing that the pressure would end. But it never ends. And people keep coming and they want things. So he just does things. He does a thing over here. He does a thing over there. And then, he just says things. And his behavior and his words, they just grow more reckless because the pressure never stops. And all he has to do to stop it, all he has to do is just step down. But he's too proud to step down. So what's going to happen? There's no telling what's going to happen. And you're going to give a guy like that this button? And Jefferson's like, oh yeah, a big one. And it'll work too. And Jefferson kind of leans back in his chair and crosses his arms, like he's really done something, really satisfied with himself. And Madison and Franklin kind of give each other the side eye. And then eventually Franklin's like, oh man, it's getting late and I've got a lot of inventing to do in the morning, so I think I better take off. Then Madison's like, oh yeah, I've got to help my wife bake a bunch of snack cakes tomorrow, so I should probably get going too. Hey Ben, why don't we share a carriage? Ben says, okay. So they leave. So on the ride home, Franklin's like, James, do you still have George the Third's number? Because I don't know, man. This thing, I think we might have made a terrible mistake. And Madison's like, yeah, I got it. I'll give him a call in the morning and I'll see what we can work out. And if that had been the way it happened, we'd all be talking like Michael Caine and sipping tea all day. And you know what? At this point, I'd take it. I'm done talking now.